Hello, everybody, and welcome into the 24th edition of Texas Longhorns here live. I'm your host, Matthew Miller. Will you do me a favor? Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button whenever you catch me, whether it's now, whether it's later in the show, or whether this is an old show to you. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out what we're doing. Guys, I'm having issues with my camera. If it goes out, I will be right back. Something's going on. Don't know what's wrong. But I am excited today, guys, because it is game week. It is hate week. It is Red River rivalry week. One time a year do we get to hate that North. One time a year do they get to hate the Texas Longhorns. Well, I guess one game a year. We always hate each other no matter the time of the year. But it is going to be an exciting game, guys. I'm super excited to talk about it with you guys. We're going to talk about a lot today. We will get to that last. We'll talk about the big recruiting weekend coming up for Texas with Georgia coming into town next week. We're going to talk about who could get to Atlanta because it was a crazy, crazy week in the Southeastern Conference. Nothing but upsets. Multiple teams going down inside the top five, Tennessee, Alabama. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about who is the hardest game left on the Texas Longhorns schedule. My answer may surprise you on that. We'll have to see. Maybe it won't. And then we'll talk about the game, obviously, the Red River rivalry and prediction. Red River Shootout, Red River Rivalry, whatever you call it. It's going to be a hell of a game. It always is. It always delivers. It's always a good game. I'm really excited to break it down and chop it up with you guys. For my Oklahoma fans in here, feel free to talk trash. Feel free to talk whatever you want to me. Just keep it somewhat respectful. I can take most things. Just back it up with facts if you can. Obviously, if it's trash talk, you don't have to back it up with facts. Just go in on me. But again, I am excited. Please hit that like button, subscribe. Also, use the Amazon link in the description. Prime Day is coming up in 1 or 2 days. So use that in the description. It does not change the process, does not cost any money. It is free. Also, if you don't want to look at my face, you can catch your favorite SEC team, whether it's Oklahoma or Texas, on your favorite audio platform, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. It's there. You can listen. You don't have to watch. So go over there and check that out. And thank you, guys. Let's jump into the first topic. Who could get to Atlanta? At the beginning of the season, my prediction of the teams in the SEC championship game, Alabama versus Texas. I had Alabama beating Texas. Could that still happen? Absolutely it could. But this weekend opened up a world of possibilities. It really did. With all the upsets that happened. In my opinion, there are, Texas is in play. A&M is in play. LSU is in play. Missouri, I know they didn't look good, but they have an easy schedule. They are still in play. Georgia's still in play. Bama's in play. Ole Miss is in play. I didn't add teams like Ole Miss, Kentucky. I didn't add teams like Oklahoma or Kentucky. Oklahoma, if they win this week, could definitely be in play for that SEC championship game, but we'll have to get into why later. I don't think that's going to happen. And then Kentucky has 2 losses already. Obviously, losing to Ole Miss. They beat Ole Miss. Losing to South Carolina and losing to Georgia puts you behind the 8 ball, so I don't see Kentucky making it either, but it is a possibility. But let's jump into the schedule. So I'm thinking right now, as of this moment, October 7th, 7:06 p.m., I think Texas is going to make Atlanta. If they win these next 2 weeks, I think you can ride them in there. I think it's going to happen. But let's have them there. Who are the contenders? Like I named them already. Let's go through their schedule. So A&M, after blowing out Missouri, and by the way, very gutsy job by Mike Elko naming Connor Wigman the starting quarterback. It paid off in that game. Will it pay off the rest of the year? We'll have to see. He played above his skis in that game. He had a game like that last year versus Miami. That is not the real Connor Wigman. Connor Wigman is a solid football player. He is not what you saw versus Missouri. That was mostly Missouri being bad on defense. They play Mississippi State after that. They play LSU, and then they're on the road at South Carolina. You have a bye week to get ready for those New Mexico State. Man, that's a hard game. I know they beat Auburn last year, but they don't have Diego Pavia or Jerry Kill there. You play on the road at Auburn, and then you play Texas to end the year. So for me, guys, for Texas A&M to have a shot to make the SEC championship game, first off, they got lucky with the schedule. It's very easy. It's easier than Texas' schedule, in my opinion. And Texas has an easy schedule. I will fully admit that for an SEC schedule. I think Connor Wigman's not going to have to play that good, but he's going to have to play pretty damn close to that. I like their running game. Their offensive line's good enough. It's not great. Their defense is good. I don't think it's great. I think, again, that game told me nothing. I said Missouri going into the year was the most overrated SEC team with LSU right behind them. So that game really told me nothing. To me, for A&M to get to Atlanta. They are going to have to beat LSU at home. And I think their next toughest game other than Texas is at South Carolina. They can go 1-1 in those two games. And if they beat Texas at the end of the year, they will end up in Atlanta, in my opinion. Do I think that happens? No. I think they will go 1-1, but I think they will lose to Texas. That will eliminate them. That will give them 2 losses. It's possible a 2-loss team makes it, but especially if the loss to South Carolina, if they beat LSU, I may be eating my words. They could probably make it, but we'll have to see. LSU, we move on to them. That defense is going to have to be better. They were good versus South Alabama. If they can do that, they can end up in Atlanta, and they would prove me completely wrong. I had them at 9-3, and I thought they were the second most overrated team coming to the SEC because of what the fans expected. The fans expected an SEC champion or a playoff team. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I could be wrong. In a crazy year like this, 9-3 may get you there. But the question here is, can they get to Atlanta? Big weekend this weekend. They play Ole Miss. That is an elimination game for the SEC championship, in my opinion, because that would give the tiebreaker to Ole Miss. If Ole Miss does lose, that gives them 2 losses, Kentucky and LSU. I don't see them making it because their schedule is semi-hard when we get to them. They'll probably lose another game on top of that. LSU also plays at A&M. That is another elimination game coming up in the SEC championship race. Whoever wins that game sets up beautifully for them. If LSU beats Ole Miss and A&M, they're probably going to end up in the SEC championship game. You would play Bama at that point, and then Florida and Vandy. So you have a couple hard games in a row. I will say this, a sneaky game in between Ole Miss and A&M, and Arkansas will have a lot to say about this. That is who they play, at Arkansas. So you go Ole Miss, at Arkansas, at A&M. That stretch for me, guys, smells like 2-1. I think there's a better chance that they end up 1-2 in that 3-game stretch than they do 2-1. I really believe that. I think before the year, I had them at 8-4, and I switched it literally the last second before I went on air to you guys and told you LSU would go 9-3. I had them at 8-4, losing that game at Arkansas. I feel even better about that. So they could definitely lose that game. For them to make the SEC championship game, they are going to have to go 2-2 versus Ole Miss, Arkansas, A&M, and Bama. If they don't go 2-2, they will not be in the SEC championship game. For Missouri, we'll talk about them. I don't believe they will be in the SEC championship game, but they do have an easy schedule. They have a bye week this week to regather after that ass kicking down in College Station. They play UMass. They play Auburn. They play at Alabama. They play Oklahoma. They play at South Carolina, and they play Mississippi State. Honestly, I think they're going to lose to Bama, and I think they're going to lose to South Carolina or Oklahoma. That would eliminate them. They're not getting in with those losses. So I think they're pretty much eliminated. They're my only team, honestly, on this list that we're talking about. To me right now, I have them on here because of the schedule that is eliminated. Everyone else, the 3 other teams I'm going to talk about after this, in my opinion, could do it. There's legitimately 5 teams that could play Texas in the SEC championship game. Also, Tennessee, I don't have them on here. They could also play in the SEC championship game. So, Georgia, they play at Texas. They have a bye week. They play Florida. They play at Ole Miss. And then they also play Tennessee. Again, for Georgia, you already have one SEC championship loss or SEC loss. You're going to have to go 2-1 in those games versus Texas, versus Ole Miss, versus Tennessee. You can lose 1. You cannot lose 2. You lose 2, you're out of the SEC championship. You might be out of the playoff, even though with this type of year, I honestly think a 9-3 Georgia probably gets in. So it's going to be very interesting how that works out. But you have to go 2-1 at Texas, at Ole Miss, and versus Tennessee. If I was a betting man, I think they beat Ole Miss and Tennessee. I think they lose to Texas. If I had to say they beat Texas, but they won loss, because I do think they're going to lose one of the games, I think they lose versus Ole Miss. I think they lose. I take that back. I think they lose versus Tennessee. I don't think they lose at Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss is a crazy road environment. I don't believe in Jackson Dart. I don't think Georgia's defense is what it normally is, but still I don't believe in Jackson Dart. Alabama, South Carolina. I think they're going to kill South Carolina this week. They play at Tennessee. They play Missouri. They have a bye week. They play at LSU. They play Mercer and Oklahoma. To me, you have 4 big games on the schedule: Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, and Oklahoma. If you go 3-1, Alabama's in the SEC championship game. I fully believe that. Most likely loss out of this, honestly, after what I've seen, I think it's LSU. I might have switched my opinion basically just swapped LSU and Tennessee. We'll have to see if the LSU defense really is the LSU defense that showed up versus South Alabama. I don't know whether it is or not. Like I said, we'll have to see. And then Ole Miss at LSU. Again, the elimination game. I think that's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to be really fun. I've already bet on the game. I believe I bet on LSU in that game. I do not believe in Ole Miss. I do not believe in Jackson Hart. And I don't even believe in LSU that much. So it's kind of like I said, it's an elimination game. It's a I don't believe in either team type of game. They have a bye week after that. Then they play Oklahoma at Arkansas, Georgia, bye week at Florida, Mississippi State. Arkansas, to me, on every one of these schedules I've seen is a trap game. When they play LSU, it's a trap game. When they play Ole Miss, it's a trap game. When they play Texas, it's going to be a trap game. Like, Arkansas has a lot of potential to influence who gets in the SEC championship game and who gets in the college football playoff. Arkansas is not going to be in the SEC championship game, I don't think. Do I think they can influence it? They kind of already did by beating Tennessee. If they beat one or two more of these teams, they have played complete spoiler here, and maybe they do play their way into the SEC championship game, and that would be a surprise of all surprises. I think I had Arkansas winning 4 games. I'm not shocked if they win like 5 or 6, but if they do anything better than that, I would be shocked, and they're going to do that. They're actually a pretty good football team. They probably should be 5-0. They definitely should have beat Oklahoma State. They should at least be 4-1. So good job by Sam Pittman. Good job by Travis Williams, the defense coordinator, and a really good job by Bobby Petrino as well on the offense. So those are my teams. I have also forgot Tennessee. To me, though, Tennessee losing to Arkansas, they play Alabama and they play Georgia. They're going to have to beat both those teams, and I don't see that happening because that's the tiebreaker. Those are your main competition. You're going to have to beat them both to end up in the SEC championship game. Unless Nico improves greatly, that's not going to happen. Right now, guys, I would stick with my preseason prediction. I think it's going to be Texas versus Alabama. I might switch it where Texas beats Alabama now that I've seen what Alabama's defense looks like, but I'm still going to stick with Alabama playing Texas. If I had to predict, if it's not going to be Alabama, God, I can't believe I'm about to say it. I think Texas A&M, if Alabama doesn't make the SEC championship game, because of their schedule, might play Texas back-to-back weeks. I hate saying that. I don't like Texas A&M. I don't think they're really that good, honestly. But because of the schedule, and they're legitimately probably like the 14th, the 16th best team in the country, they could. So that's my prediction still is Texas versus Alabama. But if I had to pick another team, I would pick A&M. If I had to pick another team after that, I would pick Georgia. But I kind of already think they're eliminated with the Alabama loss, but we'll see. Who knows? Now, again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel, what we're trying to grow here. We're trying to grow the college football, Voice of College Football network as a whole. So even if you're an Oklahoma fan, do me a favor and like and subscribe. You can come in here and troll me. You can come in here and hate me. I don't care. Just like and subscribe the video. It really helps out. I really appreciate it. Now, let's get to the hardest game left on the schedule for Texas. Texas plays Oklahoma. They play Georgia. They play at Vanderbilt. They have a bye week. Then they play Florida, at Arkansas, Kentucky, and A&M. I rank these. Number 1 is still Georgia for me. They have too much talent. They're going to be motivated. What's going to be preached by Kirby Smart is the last time we went on the road and played a very good football team, Alabama, we got spanked. Do not let it happen again. Put your pride on the line. Put your ego on the line. You cannot let this happen again. I think they're able to compete versus Texas because of that. I think if they're able to find explosive plays like they were versus Alabama in the second half, they could win the football game. My issue with Georgia is this is the weakest defense they've had in the last 4 or 5 years, on top of having the weakest playmakers on the offensive side of the football. On top of, in my opinion, having Carson Beck, who is the most overrated quarterback in the country. So it's a bad, honestly, year for Georgia all around. I don't think they're great anywhere. I don't think they're great at quarterback. I don't think they're great at wide receiver. They're not great on defense. The only thing I would say they're great at is their offensive line. I think their offensive line is very good. I think their running game is good. I don't think it's great. I think if they went with Nate Frazier, it might be great. I think he's better than Trevor Etienne. I said that I think Trevor Etienne was the most overrated upgrade at running back for any team. So they are still my number 1. It's just the pure talent that they have on the football team. They are my number 1 team for Texas that could trip Texas up. Number 2, and I actually predicted this team to beat Texas preseason, is the Kentucky Wildcats. I think they have the perfect recipe and perfect team to execute the game plan necessary to beat Texas. To beat Texas, you have to win time of possession. To beat Texas, you have to have third down conversions. To beat Texas, you have to have a very good defensive line that might be able to push around the offensive line. Check, check, and check. This team has a good enough running game, especially with Brock Vandergrift scrambling around to win time of possession. I think they're able to do enough on third down. And hopefully they can set themselves up, or not hopefully for me, but hopefully if you're a Kentucky fan, you can set yourself up on first down to avoid the third and long, and then you can run the football on third down. And then also Walker, Malik Harrison, or Harrison, it's either Harrison or Harrison, the cornerback, is going to play in the NFL. Smoke Dumas Johnson at linebacker position is going to play in the NFL. Walker, defensive tackles, going to play in the NFL. You have an NFL player every layer of that defense. They are a good football team. I thought they'd go 8-4. I think they're on track to do just that, if not better. So I think Kentucky is our second hardest game right now, looking at the schedule. Number 3 is the team we play this week, Oklahoma. I don't care who they have at quarterback. I don't care who they have at offensive line. I don't care how many damn wide receivers they have hurt. I don't care if they're only running the ball for like 3 yards per carry. Their defense is still good. This is a rivalry game. They have won 17 of the last 24. They deserve to talk smack to Texas as of this moment. They have been the better football program. I mean, they're the better football program overall, and they have dominated this rivalry recently. We still have the head-to-head record if you go all time, which to me, if you're going to draw any line in the sand, it's either all time or after integration you can draw the line. I think we're exactly even, or they're a little bit better after integration, but obviously all time we're better. But they have dominated it the last 24 years. Like I said, 17-7. They've won 7 of the last 10. It has been close, though. 9 out of the last 10 games has been decided by 8 or less points. I think this is going to be a somewhat decent football game. I'm not going to break that down too much right now before we get into it. But I'm not going to say this team's going to lose to Texas by a lot. I think it's going to be somewhat close, and then maybe Texas pulls away at the end. But I'm still going to give them some respect. They're the third hardest on our schedule left. Number 4, I do have Texas A&M. That environment Texas will walk into will be the most hostile environment any team walks into this year, and it will not be close. These people hate Texas. And the difference between Texas and Oklahoma fans is I believe Texas and Oklahoma fans have respect for each other. Texas fans, including myself, have no respect for Texas A&M. Texas A&M fans that I know have no respect for Texas. We legitimately hate each other. And Texas hates Texas A&M because they talk a lot of smack for literally doing nothing. They've never done anything. Since 1939, they haven't won a championship. They haven't won a Big 12 championship or a conference championship since 1998, I believe. So there's a lack of respect there. Ticket prices are insane, guys. The cheapest ticket as of now is $501. That is to stand in the stadium at $501. If Texas A&M can run that schedule, if Texas can run their schedule, and there's an SEC championship game or a college football playoff game at stake, that's going to be $800 at minimum. This is going to be an insane game to watch. It's going to be an insane game to be a part of. That is why Texas A&M is 4th. Honestly, if we're calling neutral field, they'd probably be lower than this. Number 5, I'd actually probably put this next team above them. At Arkansas, again, kind of the same thing. They do not like Texas. The last time Texas went there was one of the most hostile environments I have ever watched Texas walk into. Texas absolutely got steamrolled by that team. They allowed over 300 yards rushing. You could tell. Sark on the sideline was like, this is going to be harder than I thought. This is not what I expected. I don't think it's going to happen again, but Arkansas is a good football team. Just like they were back then. It kind of worked out that way where both the last 2 times we played, they've been a pretty damn good football team. Last time we were way worse than them. This year we're better, but they're still a good football team. We're not going to spend too much time on these other ones. Number 6 is Vanderbilt. Didn't think I'd be saying that. I thought I'd have this next team up before them in Florida. Florida's the last one on this list. But Vanderbilt earned my respect this weekend. Clark Lee has it going in somewhat the right direction. Let's see what he does after Diego Pavia leaves. But still, that guy scares me. He's a gamer. He's hard-nosed. He's a competitor at the quarterback position. They're going to be schemed up well because you have Jerry Kill and that New Mexico State staff there as well. Plus, Clark Lee's not bad on the defensive side of the ball, scheming things up. So they are my 6th team. Number 7, I do have Florida. I just don't think they're that good of a football team. I don't think they're that well coached. There's a good chance Billy Napier's not there. We'll see. He's basically playing week to week for his job at this point, but they are the 7th team I am most worried about and the 7th hardest game left on the schedule. So the easiest game really left on the schedule for Texas. And I rank that basically of who I think we could lose to in order. I'll run that down real quick. I have Georgia 1, Kentucky 2, OU 3, A&M 4, Arkansas 5, Vandy 6, and Florida 7 is the order for that. Let's jump into your comments. Martin Diablo Boomer, prayers both teams have 0 injuries this Sunday. Yes, absolutely. Never want any injuries. I want both teams fully healthy. I thought this was an Oklahoma show, not this redheaded Texas booker. It's a both show, buddy. Georgia is rough. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. 1998 was the last time Texas A&M won the Big 12, and they didn't even beat Texas that year. Thank you for that information. I knew 1998 was the last time they won. I did not know they didn't beat Texas that year either, so that's pretty funny. But let's get into some more things. If you guys have any more comments, please leave them there. I am a booger. You can leave. That was pretty funny. I'm going to give you that. Let's talk about recruiting real quick. And then, guys, for you Oklahoma fans that are in here, for you Texas fans that are in here, for you non-affiliated fans, we will jump into that Red River preview. But again, please hit that like button, subscribe, use the Amazon link to shop, and also check out on your favorite audio platform. Just type in the voice of college football. Listen to whoever your favorite team is, your favorite rival team, your favorite rival, if you want to listen to them. Whether you're an Oklahoma fan and you don't like me and want to listen to me, whether you're a Texas A&M fan and you don't like me but you want to listen to me, whether you're an Arkansas fan and you don't want to look at me but you want to listen to me, please do that. Let's jump into recruiting. So, Texas, during their bye week, guys, we saw on social media, Sark got in the Sark helicopter with that beautiful SEC logo, the black and orange. By the way, can Texas get a black jersey at some point? That'd be nice. But they visited multiple guys, and I think you really saw who they are going to try to flip, who they are heavily recruiting in next year's class a little bit too, and then who they are still trying to get on board if they're not on board with another school as well. So Amari Latimer, 2026 running back. He is the top running back target for Tashard Choice. Tashard Choice every year has 1 to 2 guys that he targets hard, and he honestly usually ends up with them. I don't think he's ever gone past the 3rd guy. I think he usually makes a list of 3 and gets 2 of them. This year he got James Simon and Ricky Stewart. Next year, Latimer is clearly the top choice. If you're going to visit this guy during the bye and he's the only one you visit, he's your number 1 choice. He's from the state of Georgia. So again, Texas is starting to tap into that peach state. And it's a good state to tap into because I believe per capita, they produce the most high school talent and they produce some of the most NFL talent. So really good job tapping into that state. Like I said, he's the top running back they want, and he's also one of the top running backs in the class of 2026. So far, guys, Texas, Georgia, A&M, Auburn, Arkansas, Florida, Ohio State, Penn State, Florida State, and Miami are just some of the offers. This guy is coveted by everyone. It's going to be a tough race. You have a year to make this happen if you're Tashard Choice. He has done a phenomenal job getting running backs. The guys, he's done it all the way back at Georgia Tech. He got Jahmyr Gibbs. He coached Bijan Robinson here. He got the guys he got Cedric Baxter here. He's going to get Ricky Stewart and James Simon here. He got Christian Clark here. He got Jarrett Gibson, who's been playing pretty well here. So he does a fantastic job recruiting the running back position. I trust him to get Amari Latimer if he really, really wants him like he seems to. Also, Sark, when he got in the helicopter, decided to visit Dorian Brew, the Oregon cornerback commitment. Until he gets him on campus for a game, I do not see this happening. I'd love it to happen. He's a good player. I think he has the potential to be the best cornerback in this class. He has the potential. But to me, he has not seemed like he's wanted Texas. It seemed like Ohio State for a while, then he flipped to Oregon. I think Oregon honestly offered the most money. That's why he went there. But let's put it this way. Oregon and Ohio State got weekend visits. Dorian Brew did not get a weekend visit to Texas. He decided to come midweek. To me, that seems like Texas is not a priority. So until he shows up on campus, until he shows Texas a little bit of respect, honestly, I don't really see him coming here. I think he's going to stay committed to Oregon. He also visited Smith Orogbo, obviously 4-star linebacker out of Elite Hastings High School. Committed to the University of Texas, in my opinion, the guy with the highest upside in the current class of 2025. I'm really excited for him to step on the 40 acres. He also visited 5-star defensive cornerback Devin Sanchez. His dad was actually a teammate of Casey Hampton, the great Texas Longhorn, in high school. So it's going to be interesting if they're able to get him on campus and visit. Again, can you get him on campus? When this staff is able to get someone on campus and they're able to pitch him what they see the future as for that player, they do a pretty damn good job of nailing it and hitting it out of the park. Can they do that, especially with the ties there? I think that really helps. In my opinion, I tried to get Casey Hampton up to Austin for that. A little bit of reconnection there, help him pitch the University of Texas to his son. I think that would help out a little bit, honestly. So it's going to be interesting if we can get him on campus. They also visited Nick Townsend, again, a Texas commitment. I love that they're visiting guys that are close or in the state of Texas. Touching it, keeping in on them, touching in on them, seeing how they're doing, seeing if they're still fully committed to the University of Texas. And I think it's a really cool way to do it. You get in the chopper, you fly in, you make a scene, you make the kid feel special. It's a really smart way to do it. Tanook Hines, who's currently committed to USC, they also visited. They like him more. He's a wide receiver. They like him more as a safety or an athlete. So honestly, if he doesn't want to play safety and if he doesn't want to be like an offensive type weapon or a defensive Swiss Army knife, he's not going to come to Texas. I'm sure USC pitched him at wide receiver, and if he wants to be a wide receiver, he will stay committed to the University of Southern California. We'll see what happens there. But I don't think Texas is fully invested there. I also don't think Tanook Hines is fully invested in Texas, obviously committing to USC. Jonah Williams, the 5-star stud out of Galveston, they went and visited him. That guy is a complete stud. Please go watch the film. Linebacker safety hybrid. I think he play all over, be a Swiss Army knife on the defensive side of the ball. I think he'd be a lot like Isaiah Simmons was at Clemson. I'm really excited to get him on campus. Again, just keeping in touch, seeing if he is good to go for the University of Texas. Kelshawn Johnson. Guys, I guess it's not looking as good as I thought it was a week ago. He is not a high probability as of this moment, and I think that's honestly understandable. A&M's going to have more playing time. If A&M keeps running the offense like they're doing with Connor Wegman at quarterback, why wouldn't you go there? They're throwing it around a little bit more. They're winning. There's a good chance if they continue to win and throw the ball around and you get more playing time, I really don't see the downside of going there. So unless they fall apart, I think he's pretty locked in there. It makes sense. He would be great at Texas because, again, he's more speedster, and we need a speedster along with Jamie French and Khalil Glock in this class. We definitely need a burner on the field. He would fit that, but I don't see it at this point. Malcolm Simpson, the 3-star defensive lineman, has a lot of upside, but he needs to put on weight. He only weighs 252 pounds. He is committed to Nebraska currently. And honestly, guys, I think he would flip to Texas, but I don't know if he has the grades. That is the key concern right now. Does he have the grades to get into the University of Texas? If he doesn't, he's going to stay with Nebraska. If he does, I actually think he flips to Texas, and I think he'd be a nice guy to get. I think this is a guy, honestly, if the scholarship limit didn't get raised from 85 to 120, then Texas probably isn't interested. I think this is a guy you stash for a year or two, pay him decently well to sit on the bench, learn, develop, and then insert him, and he's going to play pretty well. That's the type of guy there. And then Kobe Sellers, the 4-star cornerback that's committed to Texas A&M. Not as high a priority as Dorian Brew or Devin Sanchez or Naeem Alford if they're able to get him at some point on campus. But he's in that second tier of cornerbacks. Those are your first tier guys, but they need another cornerback. Do they desperately need another cornerback? No, because you're going to have a lot of guys back for next year. The only guy you're losing really is Jahdae Barron, but you would like to get another one. You have Caleb Chester in the class, but I would like to get another cornerback in this class, especially if you get like a Devin Sanchez, Dorian Brew, or even a Kobe Sellers. So that'd be really nice as well. And then we're going to talk about Georgia next week, some guys that will be visiting. Kevin Wynn, defensive line commitment from Florida State. They are trying to get on campus so far. He has not scheduled for Georgia, but that is a possibility. I'm just going to run through these pretty quickly. Myron Charles already committed to Texas. Defensive lineman, 4-star, will be at the Georgia game. Malcolm Simpson, 3-star, committed to Nebraska, will be at the Texas game. Like I said, I think he wants to go to Texas. Are the grades good enough? Josiah Sharma, committed to Texas, will be at the Georgia game. 3-star defensive lineman. 5-star Jonah Williams will be at the Georgia game. 4-star Nick Townsend, committed to Texas, will be at the Georgia game. 4-star Kelshawn Johnson will be at Texas. So like I said, I think there's a chance. I just don't think it's a 50-50 coin flip. I think it's 70-30. He will be at the Georgia game, though, the 4-star wide receiver. 5-star 2026 quarterback, Dia Bell, who's a great player, could end up being the number one player in the 2026 class. We'll have to see because Jakeem Stewart did reclassify to 2025. Four-star wide receiver committed to Texas as well. Chris Stewart will be there. Zalous Hicks committed, five-star safety to Texas, will be there. 2026. Now, this guy is not a commitment. I'd love him to be. Tyler Atkinson from the Peach State again, a linebacker, five-star. Phenomenal player. Love to get him in the class. We'll see if he commits this weekend or if it's just, a feel-out process. Amari Latimer, we already talked about him, four-star running back, 2026 class, showing up to the Georgia game. Kevin Ford Jr., this guy's a stud from Duncanville. He's a good player. Edge, four-star, 2026 class. Javion Osborne, four-star, 2026 class, running back. Four-star, Chris Okapala, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, but he's a linebacker from Texas, 2026 class. Tank King, another linebacker, awesome name, 2026 class as well. And then Jalen Lott, four-star athlete from Texas. James Lott, know the name? That's his, I believe James Lott is his uncle, the former Texas Longhorn great. I believe it's his uncle. He's an athlete. He's a special player. He'll probably end up being a five-star 2026 class. And then one 2027 class, running back, five-star, Landon Williams-Callis will be there for the Georgia game as well. That is just right now, guys. This will change. There's going to be 30 to 50 guys here for that game. It's going to be the biggest recruiting weekend Texas has had in Austin in 15 years. So it's a really exciting time to be a Texas Longhorn, and I'm really excited to talk about the recruiting going forward because it's only going to get better from here, in my opinion. So again, guys, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button, and we are going to get into the Red River preview and prediction, whether you want to call it a Red River, whether rivalry, or whether you want to call it the Red River Shootout. Go ahead, whatever you want to call it. I prefer Red River Rivalry. I think it rolls off the tongue nicely. Triple R. I just like it. I don't know why. That's also probably because of the era I was born in. If I was born and I was older, I'd probably like Red River Shootout. But let's get into the Red River Rivalry preview and prediction. Texas comes into this game undefeated. Oklahoma comes into this game with one loss. The Sooners are 4-1, 1-1 in the SEC, the one loss being to the Tennessee Volunteers. Texas is a favorite by 14.5 points. The over-under here is 49. Now, Texas has lost 7 of the last 10. Oklahoma is won 7 of the last 10. They've won 17 of the last 24. 9 of the last 10 have been decided by 8 or less points. This is always a close game, and I'm excited to talk about it. Obviously, let's get into some of these stats. Oklahoma on the offensive side of the ball averages 28.6 points per game. That is 52nd in the country. They average 4.5 yards per play, and this is really bad, guys. I did not realize how bad this was going to be. That is 117th in the country yards per play. The third down conversion rate is 125th in the country, 26.47%. Yards rushing, 3.7 yards per rush, 94th in the country for the Oklahoma Sooners. They complete 60.99% of their passes, so basically 61%. That is 70th in the country. Yards per pass is 6 yards per pass, which is 113th in the country. And they allowed 9.03% sack percentage, which if you drop back 100 times, you're allowing 9 sacks. That is 111th in the country. Turnover margin, they are actually very good here. 1.6 turnover margin per game. So you're almost winning that battle by 2-0 basically every time you step on the football field. That is 5th in the country. Very good. Time of possession, which one of the keys of the game, we will get into that in a second. They only get 44.7% of the time of possession. That is 115th in the country. So on the offensive side of the ball, this team is not very good. They are very challenged, especially with the wide receivers out and the young quarterback now in. I do like Michael Hawkins. I think he's going to be good. He's not good right now. He just isn't. Defense, very good. 16 points per game, 12th in the country. Yards per play given up, 4.5. That is 19th in the country. Third down percentage, 30.26% given up. That is 17th in the country. This is a great defense, top 20 in almost all key statistics. Yards per rush is 2.6, which is 8th in the country. Completion percentage allowed is 61.1%, .15, which is 66 in the country, and they are much better versus the rush than the pass. Yards per pass, 7.9. That is 83rd in the country. Sack percentage, 11.47%. That is elite. 11 sacks out of every 100 dropbacks. That's really good stuff there. 11 and a half, basically. That is 4th in the country. Like I said, this team is very good offensively. Defensively, they can be gotten in the secondary because your front four, your front seven's getting home. It's the secondary that's not able to hold up, and you already lost Kendall Dolby, who is your cheetah position, which is very, very unique for them. It's kind of like Jahdae Barron on our defense, so that is a big loss for them. Now let's get into Texas. Texas averages 45 points per game, which is 5th in the country. They average 7.2 yards per play, which is 9th in the country. Third down percentage is 51.67% of the time they convert on third down. That is 7th in the country. So again, kind of the opposite of Oklahoma, elite on the offensive side of the ball. Yards rushing per attempt, 5 yards per rush, 34th in the country. And we talked about this, Texas fans. I have a video on this channel. That is the weakness of the team, the yards per carry. We do not get enough push from the offensive line. It has not been good enough as well with the running backs. That has to get better to win a national championship. I don't really think it has to be much better to win versus Oklahoma, but we will see. Completion percentage, 71.43%. That is 6th in the country, and 10 yards even per pass, which is 9th in the country. They only give up 3.01% sack rate. Again, 3 out of 100 dropbacks is a sack. That is 25th in the country. If that stays the same, that'll be a top 10 statistic at the end of the year. This is where Oklahoma does way better in Texas. They create more turnovers, and they seem to take care of the ball just a little bit better, too. I think it's honestly more creating turnovers on the defensive side. Texas is only 0.4, so they're not even creating half a turnover a game more than the opponent. Time of possession is 49.88% of the time they hold the ball, which is 75th in the country. Now let's get to the defensive side of the ball, which is still very good. Opponent's points per game for Texas, 7, 2nd in the country. Opponent yards per play for Texas, 3.6, 2nd in the country. Opponent third down percentage, 27.78% allowed, 10th in the country. Opponent yards per rush, 3.2, 13th in the country. Opponent's completion percentage, 58.62%, or 58.52%, sorry, 41st in the country. Opponent yards per pass, 4.5. That is number 1 in the country. The secondary, I don't care who you played, they have made a turnaround. You can see it on the film. They're much better than they have been in the past. And honestly, it wouldn't have mattered for this Oklahoma passing attack. Sack percentage, 8.16. That is 26th in the country. They are top 30 in every meaningful statistic on the defensive side of the ball. Now, keys to the game, because we had some games last week that I'm going to point to that I think Oklahoma should follow the blueprint of. Actually, let's jump into a couple players first before we get into that. Michael Hawkins on the season, 23 of 37, 62.2%, 310 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He also averages 3.6 yards per carry and a touchdown. He's very dynamic. He had almost 22 miles per hour versus Auburn. Definitely can get out of the pocket and make plays. It's still to be seen whether he can get out of the pocket and create with his arm. I think it's more of get out of the pocket and create with his legs right now. Javonte Barnes, this is where Oklahoma's really struggled, guys. Javonte Barnes, 57 carries, 199 yards. 3.5 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. Not good. Taylor Tatum is your best running back right now. 18 carries, 116 yards, 6.4 yards per carry. One thing freshman running backs tend to do is fumble the ball, though. And I wouldn't mind him fumbling in this game. He is coming back from injury as well, so that's going to hurt. Gavin Sawchuk has been abysmal. 18 attempts, 33 yards, 1.8 yards per carry. Receiving, Deion Burks is back. That will help out in this game, especially because you had really no receiving threats at all other than him, because Nick Anderson, Jaden Gibson, and those guys have been hurt. Deion Burks, 26 receptions, 201 yards, 7.7 yards per catch, and 3 touchdowns. Bauer Sharp at tight end, 18 receptions, 159 yards, 8.8 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. And then Brennan Thompson, our old friend, him and his mom, Bonnie, 10 receptions, 106 yards, and 1 touchdown. The speedster can definitely get over top of you. We'll see how they use him in this game. Danny Stutzman is a stud. I said that going into the year. He's a fantastic linebacker, one of the 5 or 6 best in the country. 40 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He's been very good. And then R. Mason Thomas is having a spectacular year. I'm not even going to hate. He's been having a great year. 5.5 sacks already through 5 games. Texas definitely needs to slow him down off the edge. Now that we've gone through some of their statistics, I'm not going to get into Texas statistics because most of you guys on this Texas channel should know that, honestly. And I like to talk about the opponent more than Texas. Let's talk about the keys to the game. So I'm going to point to these games: Mississippi State versus Texas, Vandy versus Bama, and Kentucky versus Ole Miss. I think time of possession is going to be huge for Oklahoma in this game. Oklahoma is not winning this game if the time possession is even. Not going to happen at all. They have to control the ball. They have to keep the ball away from Texas on the offensive side of the ball. Mississippi State actually had a very good blueprint. They won the time of possession 35-25, and at minimum, that is what Oklahoma is going to have to do. Oklahoma is going to have to possess the ball 35 minutes to Texas 25. If that does not happen, they are not winning this game. If this is 33-27, they're not winning this game. If this is 32-28, they're not winning this game. If Texas possesses this ball more than Oklahoma, this is going to be a rout. It is not going to be close. They have to possess the football. And another game, Vanderbilt versus Bama, 42 minutes to 18 minutes. Kentucky versus Ole Miss, 40-20. The closer you can get to 14 minutes for Oklahoma, the closer this game is going to be. This will be a football game if looks like 38-22 or 39-21 or 40-20. This will be a good football game. QB running game. Last year, Dylan Gabriel destroyed Texas running the football, and it wasn't designed runs. He was able to break the pocket, break contain, and get out and run. This time, I do think Texas, they know Michael Hawkins. There's some game film on it. All Sark has to do is put up that first run versus Auburn and be like, we have to contain this guy in the pocket. That wasn't really the game plan going into the game last year. It's going to be this year. Dylan Gabriel had 115 yards rushing. He actually had the most yards rushing any one player did versus Texas last year, I believe. It was either him or Henry Whaley or Harrison Whaley from Wyoming. It was one of those two guys. I think it was Dylan Gabriel, though. So Michael Hawkins, got to contain him in the pocket. If I'm Oklahoma, you got to get, I would say, 8 to 12 design runs versus this Texas team for Michael Hawkins, where it's purely keeping the ball in his hands to run the football. That has to be part of the game plan. Texas has to do a good job of keeping in the pocket. Limit explosive plays. Both sides. Texas loves to hit the deep ball, especially this year. They've been doing that way more successfully this year. Oklahoma has to keep them in front, and when they do, they have to limit the points in the red zone to field goals. Key to the game. For the Texas side, I don't think Oklahoma is going to be able to put multiple 10-plus play drives together and score touchdowns. Do I think they might be able to score field goals? Yes. Field goals are not winning this game. You cannot allow explosive plays that lead directly to touchdowns. You can't have a 55-yard touchdown pass to Deion Burks. You can't have a 40-yard run by Michael Hawkins for a touchdown. If they have a 35, 40-yard run and it doesn't end in a touchdown, I'm fine with that. But you have to limit the explosive plays that end in touchdowns. For Oklahoma, you just have to limit the explosive plays, period. You have to make Texas drive the length of the field. And then again, this will kind of plays into the time possession. Third down. Very key in this game. The problem is Oklahoma is not good at converting on the offensive side on third down, and they're not good at stopping on third down. So I don't know how that's going to work out in this game. Mississippi State, again, in the Texas game, 8 of 17. Vanderbilt, 12 of 18 versus Alabama. Kentucky, on the other hand, was only 4 of 16, but Ole Miss was 1 of 10. So you can be that bad on third down if you're Oklahoma on offense, but you're going to have to be outstanding on the defensive side of the ball if that's the case. I don't see that happening. Texas is not going to go 1 of 10 on third down. Just not going to happen with Steve Sarkisian in the veteran offensive line and veteran quarterback play. Now, if Arch somehow has to come into this game, all these bets are off the table, and it's going to be very interesting. But with Quinn, there's no chance we're going 1 of 10 on third down. To me, guys, I just think I read you the stats. I broke down the keys to the game. For all the keys to this game, Oklahoma does not do well. So I know this is just a 1-game sample size. If this game was played 100 times, just like last year, I think Texas last year is more 60-40. These teams were way more even last year. I think it's a 75 out of 100 times Texas wins this football game. These teams are not even. Vegas sees that. I think everyone sees that. If you're an Oklahoma fan and you think you're going to just come in here and just beat us easily, I think that's crazy. Like I said, the keys of the game, you have to win time of possession. If they don't win time of possession, they're not winning this football game. Last year, too, you guys got to realize they won the turnover battle 3-0. That's another key I guess I should throw in there. They have to win the turnover battle or at least break even. If Texas wins the turnover battle, you're not winning this football game. You barely won last year with a better team versus I would say about the same Texas team or slightly worse. and you won the turnover battle 3-0, and you had to go down and score on the last one of the last possessions of the game to win that game. So I just don't see it, guys. I'm going to say Texas wins this game 37-21. I think it's 30-21. I think Texas scores a late touchdown in the last 5-6 minutes to pull away 37-21. I think Oklahoma tries to score at the end, but they're either turned away on fourth down or turn the ball over, and then Texas runs it out. And I think Quinn Ewers is going to have a big game. Last year, if you get rid of literally the first quarter, he was almost perfect. He completed 19 passes in a row. He had a really good game. Just came out and played terrible. And I think that's another key, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Oklahoma, come out and do what you did last year in the beginning. You punched us in the mouth. We were not ready. If it's the opposite this year and Texas is the aggressor and punches in the mouth, and we win the time of possession, and we win the turnover battle, we're going to win this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. It will not be close. Oklahoma has very little margin of error this game. I think Texas could lose the time of possession barely. Like if it's 34-26 and Oklahoma has 1 turnover and we have 2, I still think we win this game. It'd be closer than that, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the time of possession, you guys might win like 35-25 like Mississippi State, but the problem is I think you're going to turn the ball over more. And I think you're going to have to be selective if you do want to use tempo. Mississippi State also did a very good job with that. They did it on 3rd down and short and 4th down and short. Everywhere else, it was slow as hell. They did not try to run up tempo at all. It was very slow and methodical until you got into 3rd and short, 4th and short. Then they hurried up in the line, snapped it, caught Texas off guard, and got the 3rd or 4th down. I think Oklahoma's going to have to do that too because they are not very good on 3rd and 4th down. So it's going to be very interesting. That is my prediction. Those are my keys to the game. What do you guys have to say? Hawkins is not fast. Benjamin, come on, brother. He is fast. He ran 21 miles an hour, 21 and a half miles per hour. He's actually clocked at the highest speed that Kyler Murray ever reached. So he is fast. Exactly. I agree with that. They can't run the ball at all. That's my biggest concern. And that's why I think their only way to run the ball is going to be a lot of Hawkins design runs, or Taylor Tatum just has the game of his life. OU also cannot score in the red zone, no pushover whatsoever. Yeah, I agree. My issue is I've seen this before, and I've seen the other team win. I saw in 2015 a Texas team that went 5-7 beat Oklahoma that made the playoffs. I saw a team last year in Oklahoma that went 10-2 with a very easy schedule beat Texas when Texas made the playoff and was 1 play away from a national championship game. So this game is weird, man. It really is. OU O-line is bad. Texas is going to get to the QB early and often. I do tend to agree with that. Hummus Hero, I think it's going to be I honestly think both teams are going to be able to get to the quarterback a little bit in this game. I just think Quinn Ewers under pressure is going to be able to deliver the ball better than Michael Hawkins. I think Texas defense is going to be able to create some turnovers off of Michael Hawkins' mistakes. And I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball enough effectively to be able to keep the time of possession in their favor. And that's why I think Texas is going to win this game. No way OU sniffs 20 points. Mississippi State scored 13. They can score 20 points. I could be wrong on that. And by the way, I want to be wrong on that. I want Texas to win this game like they did 2 years ago, 49-0. But it's going to be a very interesting game. I'm really excited to watch it. It's always one of my favorite weeks of the year, and I really appreciate you guys being here. Again, guys, this has been the 24th edition of Texas Longhorns Here Live. Please like and subscribe. I'm here every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, breaking down the previous week's game usually, but this week we didn't have a previous week game, so no reason to talk about a bye week. Recruiting updates and stuff of that nature, and the preview and prediction of that week's game. Also throw in another topic or two like we did today. So please join me every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys, and hook 'em all day, every day. It is 7:51 p.m. Eastern Time, and Oklahoma sucks.